With Gina.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, Jon Stewart skewered some politicians Tuesday, but it was not in good fun like on The Daily Show back in the day. He testified at a House Judiciary Committee hearing about permanent funding for the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund, also known as the VCF, which largely benefits first responders. He was very critical of lawmakers for not having passed this legislation already. The whole thing was over 9 minutes. I just pulled two short clips. Here's the first one from the hearing.
Your indifference costs these men and women their most valuable commodity, time. It's the one thing they're running out of. This should be flipped. This hearing should be flipped. These men and women should be up on that stage, and Congress should be down here answering their questions as to why this is so damn hard and takes so damn long.
Then, after detailing how these bills always get folded into other bills and heavily diluted.
But that wasn't as uncomfortable as Kevin Nealon talking about the elephant at the zoo.
No less powerful.
That's true. This is how he...
you know what I don't get? Here's what I don't get. I heard our boy Tim Conway Jr. talking about this the other night when I was getting in my car. I think it was Timmy. Either way, in this day and age, politicians are all over the fucking road because they have to pretend like this or not do that or whatever it is. But this is one where you get to be a hero because this is one that everybody agrees on.
Absolutely. There are people tweeting, say what you will about Jon Stewart's politics or whatever, but he's a hero for this.
Right.
Everybody gets behind
what's
this.
with the politicians on this one when this is the one where everyone looks like a hero?
Right.
The more generous you are, the faster you move, everything else in a world where you could say, we need border security, and half the people on the internet will call you a heretic and a racist. But this is one where all you'll get is praise. What's taken so long for everybody?
That's Jon Stewart's question. He says, and he referred to, and I'm sorry, I didn't look it up, but he referred to, quote, a certain senator, who we all know is going to roll this into, petroleum tax. And you know who I'm talking about. And this happens all the time. So he says these bills always get folded into other things. So this is how he closes out.
So they want money for the health care, the first responders?
People are still sick. They're very sick after all of these years. They're losing their funding. They're losing their health care. And John's trying to get this going. This is how he closes out the whole speech.
They responded in 5 seconds. They did their jobs with courage, grace, tenacity, humility. 18 years later, do yours. Thank you.
Oh, Baby Doll. That's my agent. Baby Doll's his agent.
Well
I think
said.
Baby Doll called him in the middle of the thing when he's starting to tear up. And he said, if you can't finish, we'll get Trevor Noah in here. Just say the word.
Mop it up.
Out.
I like the uncomfortable senators who kind of had to clap. The entire room was in applause, but they were like, we just got our asses
They
reamed
looked
up.
around, they were stunned, and then they autopilot started clapping as well.
Yeah, it's always weird when you pretend like it's not you that did it. I just wonder why this one seems like a layup in a world where you just spend money on everything.
Is there so you've made the analogy before about the beavers. If you put a beaver on top of the New York, the Empire State Building, they'll start looking for wood to make a dam because that's what they do and that's what they know. They have a limited skill set.
Yeah, I'm talking about hack producers,
right.
But yes.
But the analogy transcends to politicians at this level. It's like we think they're smart or motivated or noble. It's like, no, they're leveraging. Their world is building dams, which is just keeping the ball moving, keeping the ball in the air. Just keep writing. Keep voting yes, keep voting no, keep writing policy, keep changing policy. Their whole thing is just keeping the ball in the air. Like, don't accomplish anything one or the other, and you'll never be on the hook for anything.
Well, there's a thing as a politician. So like there's like lawyers for the networks. They're not, when you do stuff like let us clear it with the lawyer. The lawyer says I didn't think it's clearable or whatever. They're just there not to get fired. Right. Like if you're a lawyer for the network, the answer is always no. When you're like, can we use this logo? We play this song, but we'll parody the song. And they can, no. He says no. He says no because there's nothing for yes. There's possible dismissal for no, and I think politicians are now in the keep the job mode and not the popularity, or in the popularity mode.
Treadmill.
Right.
Yeah.
Treadmill. I spoke in front of Congress.
You did.
I looked out into that audience, and some of the questions that were asked and some of the hairstyles that were being worn and stuff. I was sort of like, I'm smarter than most of these people. Like, a lot of these people are dumb, and they're asking dumb questions and making dumb statements.
Well, besides yours, a wonderful example of that is when Zuckerberg went and testified, and they were literally asking, like, so, explain what an internet is. I mean, it was really hard to watch.
Yeah, technology has sort of passed these guys. They've been passed up. I don't know.
But it seems like, like you said, why would they do this? And Brian gave probably the only reasonable answer. But ultimately, if they cared, it would be done. They don't care. These are faceless people.
No, I know they don't care, but they always care about how they look.
Right.
So I'm saying, why not do it for how you look? Somebody tweeted me, by the way, a little film of a pet beaver they have, and the beaver was walking around the apartment getting socks and shirts and making a dance.
Oh, wow.
And I thought,
I have to see
it's true. That's what beavers do. Yeah. That's what bad producers do. And
a little orange teeth.
That's what program directors do.
Right.
They direct.
Well, hopefully that'll make a difference because, like you said, who is going to say no to this? Who's going to say boo Jon Stewart?
And that's why this is one of those good uses of celebrity.
Absolutely.
Paris Hilton DJing is a poor use of celebrity. This is a good use of celebrity.
Exactly. Well, a little bit of an update on David Ortiz. Investigators in the Dominican Republic have made a second arrest in connection with the shooting of the former baseball star. So the second suspect was arrested. He is not believed to be the shooter. They're still looking for that guy, the third suspect. But police had already arrested 25-year-old Eddie Vladimir Feliz Garcia for being an accomplice to the attempted murder. He was the one that was allegedly driving the motorcycle and brought the gunman, and he's the one that got the shit beat out of him in the crowd. Prosecutors are still trying to determine the motive. Ortiz's manager, Leo Lopez, has stated it appears to have been a hired hit job. Meanwhile, Ortiz is recovering in Boston after undergoing a second surgery.
It's a weird hit job. Isn't it a weird... Oh, first off, you don't want to live in a place where the escape car's a motorcycle, when the getaway car's a motorcycle.
Right.
Any place that has to do with a getaway motorcycle or moped, bad, number one. Number two, you also don't want to live in one of those places where if the guy who kills or tries to kill the guy doesn't get away, all the frontier justice comes in where they just kick the shit out of the guy in the street, although it is amusing.
Right.
Not if it's you.
None of it's you. But on the other hand, I'm probably not going to try to kill a Hall of Fame big leaguer or someone who's heading for Canton. Is it Canton or
Cooperstown?
So why you put a hit out on Big Papi?
I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out more. Chris looks like he might know something.
Yeah, so there's just some news. We're running some more info to you, Gina. But a suspected gunman at the shooting was arrested, offered almost $8,000 for a coordinated hit on Big Papi.
Ooh, that's big money.
Hey, let me say this. If anyone ever puts out a hit on me for less than $10,000, I will match it.
Come to me first.
Plus $500 with no questions asked. Now, granted, under $10,000. I don't want you guys rolling up. I've got $45,000. Okay, then you do your business.
Yeah, that's on you.
That's on you. But if it's under, especially $8,000, come to me first.
Including especially.
You'll give them a bonus?
I will give them 5% bonus. I'll call it a finder's fee.
Right, I've got a job
on that. Yes.
I'm just perusing this. It's exactly what Chris said, but there's one little ironic sentence in here. One of the guys...
I'll bet you almost everyone who's been killed for under $10,000 would have been happy to arrange a payment. Yes. And then some.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
One of the guys that turned himself in, I guess because this was done so clumsily and clunky, he's known as the surgeon. So what about everybody else?
An actual surgeon?
That's like when you call a fat guy Stretch, right?
Slim.
That guy's fumbling everything over there. We call him the surgeon.
Right.
Is a joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I pray that Sweet is not on this list, and I don't think Sweet is. But major pieces of music history were destroyed in a fire a decade ago, kept very, very quiet until this brand new report by New York Times. Remember when we reported about a paper saying that Universal Studios, Hollywood's on fire, and it destroyed King Kong, the theme park attraction? They pushed that story front and center because they didn't want everyone to know that all of these masters from a ton of musicians, a ton of famous songs, they're all gone. The list is staggering. I have a bunch of them here. Tom Petty, The Police, Sting, R.E.M., Guns N' Roses, Nine Inch Nails, Snoop Dogg, Nirvana, Beck. It goes on and on and on. It also includes most of Buddy Holly's masters, much of Chuck Berry's, Bill Haley and the Comets, Rock Around the Clock, Etta James at Last, the Kingsmen's Louie Louie. They were also destroyed, and now we're just coming to find that out.
How about Chuck's bathroom films? Are those still intact?
Much to his chagrin, I don't think those got destroyed.
Those were admitted as evidence.
Thank goodness. That's safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Exhibit A through Q.
We can all sleep tonight.
Yeah.
I know the Masters, but are the Masters, they have versions of the Masters or digital versions?
I would imagine, but I think I don't know if it's for, maybe you guys know, more for, preservation, auctioning purposes, but they're gone.
It depends what you call a master. I mean, if it's the 2-inch master, that's one thing. The 8-track or 24-track, that's dreadful.
And all that stuff
you can't listen to it and remix it if you want.
It's all super flammable, right? Like it just goes, right?
Yeah.
Well, they go anyway, unless you treat them right.
I was thinking about, you know what I was doing? I was watching a doc on Netflix, which is an interesting doc on the music theme. It's all the musical Broadway stuff that was corporate stuff that was done.
What's this called?
I heard about this.
It was really fascinating.
I got to see this.
So the biggest names in Broadway's, the composers, the creators, and the talent as well, had to pay the bills. And they do these big things for like John Deere Tractor or Firestone Tires. Or gay, but I'd like to be gayer. Well, mission accomplished. GM, but it would also be like small companies that made printers and stuff like that, and Coke and Pepsi and everything else, and they all put on these big musicals.
Oh my God.
For the whole sales staff.
Right,
big
corporate gig.
Anderson was just talking about this. Like, they would spend millions of dollars doing a one-off production for the annual sales conference for GM or something like that.
And American Standard toilets and sinks, and they'd all come out dressed like toilets and
George
sinks
and Ira
dancing.
Gershwin.
I think we've done that.
Seriously. Well, you guys have done a corporate gig or two, I'm sure.
In the past, I don't remember.
Not too many.
I try not to remember them. Let's put it that way.
Come on, bar mitzvahs. We're here in Los Angeles. Come on,
that's a different story. Yeah.
So it's a very great. It's a great doc. It's fun to watch. But as I was watching it, the curator of all this stuff is Letterman. I think head writer, been at Letterman for a million years. He's a charming guy, and he got into this stuff. And he's like, I'm trying to find these records. They made records, but some of them are like really hard to find. And they just made one. Now they were never distributed and they were never sold.
Right? They give 100 to their employees.
They give them out to the employees, and they're all gone, and they're not for sale. And you have to scrounge around. But as in the doc, as he was going to the archives in Washington, D.C., and pulling open the big vast things and putting the gloves on and looking at the tape, I started to think to me, there is so much archival tape and footage and discs and everything and masters and everything else of all different sizes and formats. And it's all kind of decomposing slowly, and there's so much of it. Someone's going to have to start scanning it or digitizing it or doing.
They have to bake tapes.
It's baking. You bake the analog tapes to keep them going.
Keep the oxide from falling off.
That's right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
With the analog stuff.
So we just got to get it like an old family album. We have to start scanning the pictures and putting them in the computer.
I scanned all my old pictures.
Well, there you go.
College and everything.
Yeah.
Took a couple days, but you got to do it.
It's called Bathtubs Over Broadway, 2018. Wait. It's a fun doc, and the thing that's funny is it's good musical. It's musicals. It's just musicals about plumbing fixtures and tractors
That's great.
and tires.
It's hilarious.
Do you have the Beavers? Who sent me the beaver? Someone is rescued a beaver.
Oh my God!
Is it a rescue beaver?
Easy.
I think so.
When he was moving things around, he was building a dam. And I quickly learned that's just what he was doing. Where are you going with that, JB? He's really doing an excellent job damming up my door, my stairs, my dishwasher, my bathtub.
The beaver is just taking toys and stuffies and walking around and shoes.
He did take my daughter's lacrosse stick one day. It's instinct. He needed to move that stick that he found.
Folding up rugs and stuff. Yeah, this is what horrible producers do. They go to the roof of the Empire State Building and they build dams.
Oh, that's funny.
Beavers build dams. It's just what they do. It doesn't matter what element they're in. That's what they do.
Yeah, it's their instinct.
Mm-hmm.
Well, starting in 2020, Nevada employers cannot refuse to hire a job applicant for failing a marijuana screening test. It's making it the first state to pass such a law, according to CNN. There are some exceptions. The law does not apply to firefighters, EMTs.
That was Gary.
Employees who operate a motor vehicle, those who, in the determination of the employer, could adversely affect somebody's safety if they're high. The law takes effect next year. Nevada is the first state to approve it. And it's not. I imagine we will see lawsuits for people who don't get hired and say, "Why is it because I failed my drug screening test?"
I was talking to somebody about hiring, and there's a lot of rules about hiring now, like what you can't do and you can do, and all that kind of shit. And I'd like to start trading rules. Like if I'm the employer and you're making this thing like you no longer can check for drugs or marijuana or whatever, I'd go, okay, I'll give you that one. But you know the part where you said I'm not allowed to ask what your former salary was at your last job? I want that one back. I'll trade you this one for that one. We'll still have the same amount. Like it's like when Trump goes, look, for every new regulation, we're going to get rid of 3. Like my thing is like, I'll trade you one, and then you got to give me one because eventually you're just going to have all the shit. Like, here's how it's going to work. Well, your new prospective employee is going to come in. It's going to nail you in the ass dry, take your money, and then leave. And if you say anything, they'll sue you.
Where do I sign?
Yeah, I'm saying I would like to start trading regulations.
Yeah.
That's my move. Smoke
good.
as much weed as you want, but I want to know what you fucking got paid in your last job. And everyone's like, wait, you can't ask that. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it would factor in.
It's reasonable for you, of course.
Or maybe it's a lot. Maybe it's like more than I want to pay, and you'll be the winner.
Risk, yeah.
That's right.
So there was that crazy helicopter crash in New York earlier in the week, and we did not have any details on who this guy was, what happened, because he died in the crash. Well, now there's a little bit more information. His name was Timothy McCormick. He died in the accident. He was not licensed to fly by instrumentation. So here's what that means. FAA regulations stipulate that only pilots who can fly by instrumentation, that they are allowed in the air when visibility is less than 3 miles. But rain and low clouds had descended on Manhattan that day. So you get a certain license for just flying the helicopter. You get another license for being able to basically flying it without being able to see.
Yeah.
And he did not have that.
Wasn't that a John thing?
Oh, yeah,
Kennedy
that's
thing?
right.
He wasn't. Say Ian Pace,
Yeah,
that dude is licensed to play instruments anywhere he wants. Yeah, he couldn't. He need.
I find that absolutely atrocious that somebody can get into a plane and fly the damn thing without being able to know what the instruments are telling him.
What direction you're going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there's all different ratings.
Didn't know which way up he was.
Right.
So
So if you think about it, if you're flying a helicopter over Manhattan, you're kind of flying a bomb.
He wasn't supposed to be
that's
flying
the other part.
over
Right.
Manhattan.
That's the other part of the story. So according to the media reports, McCormick was an experienced pilot, thought he had a clear window of weather. When he took off less than a mile away from the crash site, he quickly realized this was a bad idea. He asked air traffic controllers for permission to return. He crashed on a roof, and he was, like you said, in a restricted area. The FAA has banned aircraft flying below 3,000 feet within a mile of Trump Tower. And that's why in New York, you always see helicopters sort of circling the island, but they don't go over the top.
Oh. And was he trying to crash land, you think?
I think he was just probably looking for the safest place to land, that it didn't hit the street.
Yeah, he didn't want to land in the street.
Yeah,
so
and no debris hit the street.
No.
So it was kind of a miracle.
But so did he have difficulty? I mean, like engine failure or something? 'Cause
I don't. There's been no reports about engine failure. There's only been
nothing
reports
to see anymore.
Right, exactly.
The helicopter's a matchstick.
But I'm trying to figure out, like, if he's flying and he's safely in the air, even though he can't see or he doesn't know where he's going, why not stay in the air? Like, why not just head north or something?
He'd have preferred that.
I'm sure he would have preferred it too. Sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear a nice
Set it
story?
down. He crashed it on a building and no debris hit the...
No, it all stayed up on the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, none of those buildings have anywhere to land anymore because they're not supposed to be there. And we're looking at the top of that building right now, which does not seem like a great place to land. It was like all air conditioning units and industrial fans and things.
Right. Yeah. I like it when they were like going. I like it when they're trying to set the record for the tallest building. And then they get the last 80 feet out of this big
pole
that goes to the top. And they're like, what's that for? For dirigibles. Well, how does that work? When the dirigibles fly in, they'll moor here, and then people will climb down to be in the penthouse.
Sure.
So it's all above the board.
Can you imagine getting out of a balloon and then shinning down a flagpole?
It seems like a crazy, but
Very
that was
Branson.
like how they would do it. But also, the thing about, I always say, like the $10,000 martini that you drop a huge diamond into, or the world's tallest building where we're counting the 700-foot flagpole on top of it. No. Yeah. I need stories.
Yeah.
You got to build that building.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's how the Empire State Building is higher than the Chrysler Building.
Is it?
Oh yeah. He looked at it and went, "Oh dear, the Chrysler Building's taller than the one I'm building." So he built a few more floors on top of it, and then put a radio tower
just
on
for good
top.
measure.
Is the highest one in, I don't know, Hong Kong or something now?
I think Dubai.
Dubai. Yeah,
That's
that
right.
makes sense.
Dubai.
Yeah.
No.
All right, let's do one more.
All right. Well, Fox News reports that a California police officer was arrested last week after authorities say a college student used that Snapchat filter that everybody is loving lately, the gender switching one, to trick this guy into thinking he was a 16-year-old girl who he'd agreed to meet up for sex.
There's a gender switching
Yeah,
one?
it's a lot of fun.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, we'll see what you look like as a lady. I'm
I
sure
wouldn't
somebody
wanna
has it on their
fuck
phone.
me.
You sure?
How's that work?
It's just you put the camera in front of you, and then like for me, it adds a little stubble. It rounds out your jawline a little bit, adds eyebrow, and then for guys, it does exactly the opposite. And I think Chris might be bringing that in right now.
Oh, boy.
So Robert Davies is a 40-year-old police officer with the San Mateo police force.
Oh, yeah.
Brian.
We're talking.
Hometown boy.
Yeah, and he was charged with contacting a minor to commit a felony.
What's this guy's name?
Robert Davies.
No.
You know,
I know a lot
Go
of guys
high
who
school
work
with
for the San Mateo Police Department.
The kid, basically 20-year-old, he's identified as Ethan. He's a college student from San Francisco, and he just told the NBC affiliate he was just looking to get someone, just seeing if there was someone he could ensnare. Yeah. A warrant for Davies' arrest was issued on Thursday. He was charged with one count of contacting a minor with intent to commit a felony. So we're looking at Ethan and the swapping that it did with his face on the filter.
Did she say?
Here comes Adam.
Oh my God, it's Natalia.
I look like my daughter.
It's Natalia.
Oh, my God.
No.
Oh, she's going to kill herself.
This is upsetting.
Wow. I once, I don't know, this is probably more of a science than when, many years ago, Max Spada, we may have scanned this picture somewhere, I can't remember, but a million years ago, they had one of those booths in Vegas, and it'd be like, see what your child would look like.
Right.
So, like, you go in, and then I go in, and then we'll see what our child would look like. Me and Jimmy went in. And they give you a version of your child that's like 7, but ours had stubble. And it was like had half a beard because we both hadn't shaved.
Well, it just takes the images and melts.
Yeah, I know, but I don't
high
know.
science.
You
could be your kid.
You got to do better than that.
Yeah.
All right, so they caught the cop.
Yeah.
Because they said I'm 16.
Yeah, this 20-year-old dude was just looking to catch
But you have to
predator.
say you're 16,
yeah,
right? You can't
look. She said she was 16 and was down for a good time.
Jesus Christ.
And he took the bait.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like everyone's going to have to coach up their kids on like what they can do on a computer, getting trolled, looking around.
The kids are going to have to coach them up.
Oh
the kids,
yeah,
exactly. The other way around.
Yeah, not Congress. All right, let's bring it home.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news. When it's go time, let's do this.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.